to your blessings. And I hope today you're blessed. Are you blessed? You have a reason to praise God? Praise the Lord. And we also said that we have a Father who will never fail us. God is our Father and He does not fail. You want to put it for me somewhere? Okay. Yeah, I'm being taught. I have to learn. Yeah, God is our Father and He does not fail. And we are happy to be here this morning because God has enabled us to be here. And maybe there were reasons why we should not have come, but He enabled you to come. So we thank God that you could be here this morning. Today you can see our topic on the screen, the deadly sin of laziness. And you might be surprised when somebody says that laziness is a sin. And it's not only a sin, but it's a deadly sin. Because it's not like the many of the sins we think about, right? It's not like murder and many other things that we think is sin. But today, Pastor Jose said, speak on the deadly sin of laziness. And I hope that as we go through the scripture, we'll be able to appreciate or understand why it's called a deadly sin. So, okay. So the objectives of our study today is understanding laziness, lessons from the ant, and then freedom from laziness. And this is the other way around, yeah? Okay. And the outline is, like you see there, the definition of laziness, how laziness is manifested, and what causes laziness. And then, what are the results of laziness? How can we overcome laziness? And then I will conclude. Now, often, you might hear somebody say, it's not fair, particularly the lazy people, when something bad happens to them. Or when he or she finds himself in a predicament. Very often. Now, if we had time, I would have asked some people to get up and tell us examples of how you observed this phenomenon of laziness in people. But since we don't have time, I'll not ask you to do that. So what I will ask you to do is to just think quickly in your mind and see how you've seen laziness being portrayed by maybe somebody that you live with, somebody that you work with, or even somebody that you've observed somewhere. And you can see this one, I think he is lazy. But I'll tell you an example myself. As I was growing up, I grew up in the village, somewhere in the eastern province of Kenya, in a county called Embu. And as we were growing up in the village, we used to, I guess it still happens today, people used to work in the shambas. And often, I saw people who always waited to prepare their shambas well after the rains had started. Nyambura, I don't know that you grew up in the village. Did you see? Yes. You see different farmers, eh? Some will prepare their shambas very early so that at the very start of the rains, actually they will even plant before the rains. Others, they will prepare the shamba and as soon as the rains start, they plant. But often, there are some who would, when the rains come, that's when they are running to prepare the shamba. And that means then they will also plant late because the rains have started. And by the way, preparing ground when it's rained is not very easy. It's not as easy as when it's dry. And because they've planted late, and of course, as you know, the rains start and then it goes down, many times they would not have a good harvest because perhaps the rains had early and their crops would have been delayed and they will not mature. And of course, such harvest is not very good. And sometimes I would also see that those late crops that were planted late, maybe if the rain was quite enough, they might actually mature. But often there will be a problem somewhere along the way. That's one example. But still along that example of the lazy farmer, he may even be lucky to have a good crop. But the laziness may cause them not to harvest in good time. And what happens when you don't harvest in good time? The rains come and find your crop there, and again, it gets spoiled. So there's a problem there. Now, our Bible reading today was from Proverbs 6:6-11, and I'll probably read this. Go to the ant, you slacker, or sluggard, or idle, slothful person. Those are some of the names used for the. Observe its ways and become wise. Without leader, administrator, or ruler, it prepares provisions in summer. It gathers its food during the harvest. How long will you stay in bed, you slacker? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of arms to rest, and your poverty will come like a robber, your need like a verdict. And Proverbs 30:25 says, ants are not a strong people, yet they store up their food in summer. Now, from these passages, we could, let's observe one or two things. Number one, that the ant prepares, gathers, or stores, and that it's also self-motivated. It doesn't have a leader or administrator, so nobody is guiding it, but it does all these things. We're also told that it's not strong, but I suppose it's got brains, eh? I'm not so sure about the brains aspect, but somehow it does these things. Now, we are told that even in summer now, when we sing about these seasons, here it's a little difficult because what is summer here? Okay. January is summer, and which is winter? July. Okay. For those of you who have been abroad, let's say to North America or Europe, you might appreciate this better in the sense that winter is very cold, not the July winter of 80 degrees, 9 degrees. I had an opportunity to visit Norway in February, actually end of January, and that's the heart of winter. So we were talking about minus 14, minus 15 degrees C. Unfortunately, in those countries, summer then gets not to the January summer in Nairobi where it is 29, 30. It can go as high as 40. So the differences are quite big. So when we are talking about summer, please understand that this is the time when it can be very hot. Okay? So the ant gathers and prepares, and even in summer, that is the time when it's very hot. The ant is busy gathering food and laying it up. And it does not indulge, I'm using that word there, in ease, just taking it easy, or take the pleasure, like when I was researching this, I'm told like the grasshopper, which likes to sing and play during summer and then perishes during winter. The ants help one another. By the way, if you have ever observed the ants, they help each other, they work together. And we are told that if a grain of corn is too big for one to handle it, the others come and help to push it. So neighbors bring assistance to the ant. Now, this thing about the ant teaches us one thing, that hard work pays off. Can we agree on that? Yes. And it's important, particularly for you young people, to understand this. Because I know that today we live in a life where You think things can come very easily, yeah? Very quickly. But hard work pays off. John Maxwell, I love to listen to him and read his books. He often says that everything worthwhile is uphill, and gliding down requires no effort. You know? Gliding is so easy. But when you go up, I don't know how many of you have been to climb a mountain. How many of you climbed Mount Kenya? Mount Kenya? Oh, okay. Maybe you've been to Kilimanjaro. I hear it's a little easier than Mount Kenya. Kilimanjaro? Oh, okay. So I may be giving you an illustration here that's not quite understood. Because you've climbed Gong, and this is child play, man. You know, I've been to Mount Kenya, I've been to Lenana. I've been to Lenana. But I had to go back because the first time we went, no preparation, so we only went to a place that called Makinda's Camp. And we realized we couldn't go on because we were not prepared. We got so challenged that we came prepared adequately, and the following year we went and actually went all the way to Lenana. Of course, we could have reached Batian, but there you need special training and equipment. So I've been. So when I'm talking about, when John Maxwell is talking about uphill, of course even Gong is uphill, I can appreciate better now when you've been to that high mountain there. It's not easy at all. But getting down is so much easier. Now, the lazy one likes the going down, but never the going up. And I say this, that if you show a successful venture, then you will be able to see some hard work that went into it. Achievements and success is from hard work. You might, I'm sure you've heard of this man that was called Karume, Jenga Karume. He was not poor. He was quite rich by any standard. But if you read his story and you hear where he started and what he had to do, you can then appreciate that statement, that achievement or hard work, achievement will come from hard work. Okay? Now, let's define laziness. I don't know what laziness is in your mother tongue. Angie, Daktari, what is laziness in your mother tongue? Or a lazy person, what do you call them? Kiwota. That's also what we call them in Embu. What? Another language? The young lady here, Helen's daughter. You don't know? Yeah, I shouldn't ask. Who will help you? Titus. Oh, it doesn't exist in your mother tongue. Titus. Do you know what Kigota is in? You don't know? Okay. Any other language? Who knows the mother tongue? Yes, Mrs. Agova.
One of the names is
Eh? Okay. Is it a very nice name?
No.
Would anybody want to be referred to that? Not even the particular person who is lazy. Eh? They don't want to be called that. Laziness in Kiswahili is uvivu. That's what I found out. And in English, it is the quality of being unwilling to work or use energy or effort. It's also idleness. Okay? Are you getting it? You have energy, you don't want to use it. You could put some effort, you don't want to. You start something, and instead of putting some effort so that you can complete it, you just leave it somewhere. Now, to be lazy may also be referred to as being work shy or inactive, good for nothing, negligent, lax, etc. You can add many other definitions there. And I also dare say that a lazy person is irresponsible. He doesn't care much about the outcome of what he does. That's what happens. Now, there was a little prose that I put here, and we can, I'm not sure that it's too clear, but I wish we could have read it together. Because it really gives you a feel of this Kiwota, this lazy fellow. When he's roused, he stretched himself and begs as the beggar does for alms, for more sleep, for more slumber. He is well in his warm bed and cannot endure to think of rising, especially of rising to work. He promises himself and his master that he will desire a little more sleep, a little more slumber, and then he will get up and go to his business. Herein he deceives himself. The more a slothful temper is indulged, the more it prevails. Let him sleep a while and slumber a while. Still, he is in the same tune. Still, he asks for a little more sleep. Yet, a little more, he never thinks he has enough. When he is called, he pretends he will come presently. Ever come across a person like that? Thus, man's great work is left undone by being put off yet a little longer. From day to day, and they are cheated of all their time by being cheated of the present moment. A little more sleep proves an everlasting sleep. Sleep on now and take your rest. Can identify something there about laziness? You just want to sleep a little more and you keep putting off things. Manifestations or signs of laziness. And you've already thought about it anyway. But the slumber, lateness, mediocrity, sit and watch TV, just have fun, happy-go-lucky, general lethargy. There are examples I saw while growing up, like the one I already gave you, and also what I see today. And I think each one of us has examples of what you've seen as far as laziness is concerned. Now, but a more serious sign of laziness, which you may not have thought of, and I want to provoke you to think about it, is the failure to meet deadlines. Because a lazy person works very, very slowly, caring less for details and leading to repeat jobs. Now, I don't know how you are, but I know how I am. If you have people that you work with and they maybe supervise them, and they have to keep bringing the work to you, and you look at it, look shoddy, tell them, go and do it again, repeat work, okay? Or somebody is making some furniture for you or is building a house, and they do it so badly that they have to keep repeating it. Now, repeat jobs are also very expensive, yeah? So that's what laziness is. Now, let me illustrate what missing deadlines could mean. One day, when I was working in the energy sector, the energy minister asked me for a short brief of the power supply situation in the night. And he said that at 8, he was going to meet the president. Now, by a show of hands, let me see how many of you have been to the State House. Yeah, you've been. Okay. Just one person, eh? Oh, okay. The State House. the State House. The one is actually a White House, but we don't call it White House. Is it the State? What are you doing there?
We were in school, so we were invited.
Oh, okay. You are not going to the inner part. Okay. Okay. Now, when you go to the State House, one of the things that happens right as you enter to go and wait in the waiting rooms to see the president is they will take your iPad, they will take your phone. So you don't go in there with those things. That happens even to the ministers. So once you enter there, you have no access to phone, you have no access to the iPad. So if this minister was going to see the president at 8, and maybe you are hoping that I still have a little more time, and I'll send it to him. At 8 o'clock, once he enters, he cannot receive that. Are you getting it? So if he is going to brief the president and he has not received this brief, then he has to either give some stale stuff or just imagine something that he'll give to the president. That's why sometimes the president will make a statement and you wonder, well, because he was cheated, the right brief was not there. But I can tell you, when that guy comes out, because he may be embarrassed for not having what he's supposed to have, what do you think will happen to you? You get a roasting, eh? Now, I'm just giving you that so that you can appreciate what missing a deadline is about, because you don't think much about it. Sometimes you take things so lightly and so easy. Or think of a job interview, and you're supposed to be there at 8, and the gate will close, but due to a little slumber, the alarm went and you pressed the what button? The snooze, yeah? Then you didn't get up on time. And by the time you arrive at the place you're doing the interview, it's 8:10, and they have closed. And you may scream your head off and say how unfair these people are. You're not too late, but I can tell you, they will not let you in. Now, I'm talking from experience because I've seen these things happen. It's not just stories. Not once, but many times. So, young people, please take care, okay? If you're called for an interview, you are better off arriving there way before time. Dr. Would you agree with me on that? Be there long before time. Don't get late. And I'll give you a real life situation. When I was working in the energy sector and I was involved in generating power, there was one situation where somebody lost a job. And this is a manager, by the way. And why? Because he did not meet a deadline. And let me tell you how that happened. Now, when you want to purchase diesel that was used for generating power, you publish a tender in the papers. And you say you want to buy so many hundreds of liters of diesel. You make the specifications, and you say, I'm closing this tender on, when is today? 17th. I'm doing it in a week's time, which is 25th. And the tenders will close at 2 p.m. And they will be opened immediately thereafter. I'm sure if you've tendered, you know those statements. So, of course, at exactly 2, we close the tender, and we go down to the hall to open. Somebody comes just 2 minutes after, and his tender was not opened. He appealed, we couldn't open the tender, because if you do, then you get into another problem. Somebody else can actually appeal and say, you said it is 2 o'clock, this one came 2 minutes past 2, it is not allowed. And actually, if they go to court, you'll be in trouble. So we couldn't get the tender. When this fellow went back and he said his tender was not accepted, and what happened, I was late. I got involved in some traffic. You know, traffic is a good thing, eh? Good excuse. But sometimes it's not an excuse. It's actually true that you get involved in some traffic. And those days, the border borders were not there. I'm saying that because more recently, some of my staff were submitting a tender and they did exactly this. They were getting late. So when they saw things were getting too bad, he got onto a border so they could go through traffic. So this guy lost his job because of what? Missing a deadline. So please tell yourself, I don't want to miss a deadline. I don't want to miss a deadline. Now, let me say this, that I worked in the energy sector for about 36 years. And I saw many, many bidders submit their tenders late. And that's it. So a lazy person fails and complains, though he is subject to the same circumstances as all the others who are succeeding and whose efforts are being rewarded. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that the person who misses the tender is lazy, but I'm just saying it could well be because of laziness. Because people that are conscious about what they're doing, they'll give themselves even some room. Now, Jose, I don't know when I send you this this presentation. I didn't want to preach about missing deadlines, and I'm also missing deadlines. I think I sent you this on Monday. I didn't want to leave it to the last minute. I know some of you are last minute people, and you operate best under pressure of the last minute. Please, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that last minute pressure helping you to do it quickly. You know, it's the same pressure when we're in university that caused somebody to want to study the last minute. So they stayed up late, all the way to 5 a.m. And then some sleep came in. And that was it. The exam was 9 o'clock. By the time they were getting up at 10:30, they had missed it. Anyway, let's look at Bible example. Proverbs 19:15 says, laziness induces deep sleep, and a lazy person will go hungry. Matthew 25:26 says, his master replied to him, you evil, lazy servant. Now, look at how laziness is being connected. Did you know that because you are lazy, you can be called evil? Because you're not doing what you're supposed to do, but that's what God says. And maybe this is demonstrating why laziness is a sin, and a deadly one at that. So, you evil, lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I haven't sown and gather where I haven't scattered. Okay? Hebrews 5:11 says, we have a great deal to say about this, but it is difficult to explain since you have become too lazy to understand. Hebrews 6:12 says, so that you won't become lazy, but will be imitators of those who inherit the promises through faith and perseverance. Now, in these verses, the Bible doesn't seem to be painting a good picture of laziness, does it? No, it's not. If you're being called you evil, lazy, or you've become too lazy to understand, it doesn't sound very positive. And it's pointing to the negative effects of laziness. Now, while I was preparing this, I actually searched diligently, and I wasn't able to find any positive aspects of laziness. Maybe you could, but I can't find any. So no wonder it is seen as a deadly sin. Now, what causes laziness? There are many things, but let's just look at one or two. One of them is procrastination. Now, a big word or a small word, depending. But this is that tendency to put things off until later, like what we read earlier, where you are saying just a little more sleep, just a little more time, and you don't do it. Other times, it's distraction. You lack focus and attention. Now, particularly today, the days of these telephones and WhatsApps and everything, it's so easy to lose focus because your focus gets divided into many other things. Then lack of motivation, that you have no drive for what matters. You get it? You have no drive for what matters. It can also be because of indecisiveness. You're not able to make up your mind to act. And there are many, many others that you can think about. Now let's look at the results of laziness. And we've seen some of these around us, and we'll not dwell too much into them. Poverty, that was alluded to in our scripture passage today, when we are told poverty will come in like a thief. Job loss, like what I just explained. The other one is envying those who succeed because you wonder why they're succeeding and I'm not. Could be bad health because you cannot cater for yourself, poor quality of life, and general lack of success. Now, God hates laziness and judges it. We've seen that in the scripture that we read. He calls it being unfruitful, though you have the resources to be fruitful. This is implied in the passage that we looked at. Matthew 25:26 and verse 30. His master replied to him, you evil, lazy servant. And look at what he says. Throw this good-for-nothing servant into the outer darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And what was his problem? He was lazy and evil. So now do you see that laziness is actually a deadly sin? I remember one time when I was working in an electricity house in town, and we were going home, And in a parking down there between Electricity House and Jogo House, there was a fellow, strong, able-bodied man, asking for money. So the guy I was with said, "You want money?" He says, "Yes." He told him, "Okay, let's get to my car. I'll take you home. You do some work in my garden and I'll give you money." The guy took off. This is a strong fellow who can actually work. But he prefers to sit, to stand there begging than work. He took off. Now, if you've worked in insurance, anybody who has worked in insurance here? Maybe you're an insurance. Okay. This guy, if you started right at the beginning for insurance, you can understand the fruit or the lack of it, of laziness. Because in insurance, like particularly, you're paid on commission, right? So now, if commission, let's say it's even 1% of the deal that you've done. So if you make a deal worth 0, what do you get? Okay. Let's say you're in Joakali and you can be doing many things, including making furniture and all that. So you don't make anything. What will you get? You get 0. Now, I'm just saying that so that you can appreciate. Maybe if you work in just a big company where whether you achieve or not, you get your paycheck, it may not matter. But if you're working for yourself, you'll understand that being lazy can be disastrous. Or if you're being paid on commission, 1% of 0 is 0. And you'll get nothing. You'll be going home without anything. And yet, you'll be seeing other people doing what? Taking good stuff home. And then you'll be saying, "Wananionea, you what?" But it's not. You're the one who is disadvantaging yourself. Now, let's say, okay, so Proverbs 6:9 says, and we are trying to look at how you can overcome laziness here. And I've just taken a few points and said, because it says, "Get up from your slumber, you lazy head." So it's possible for you, even when you're lazy, to get up so that you can overcome it. So self-discipline to start and finish your tasks that are beneficial. You need to appreciate that. You need to develop some self-discipline. Learn from others, and even asking for help, particularly when in doubt. And after all, even if you ask for help and somebody doesn't help you, have you lost anything? Have you lost something by not asking and not being given? No, you've lost nothing, so ask. And if you get the help, then it has helped you, okay? Work smart, but also hard. You hear of working smart, eh? Yeah, but also work hard. Don't just work smart. You must also work hard. And there's another one here about exercise your body and brain so that you stay alert. I think we can talk a lot about the state of your body and how it can help you to actually get up and do things quickly. Now, avoid distractions and stay on course. Be focused on what you want to achieve, because lack of focus can make you not to actually get where you're going, and you look lazy and things will not happen. Don't give up that you have no energy. Learn from the ant. It's weak. We are told it's not a strong animal, but it tweaks, but it works very hard. So what it says is, those things go pick a little soil, bring it slowly, and yet you see what they're able to build. So even if you think you don't have energy, do the little that you can, but slowly by slowly, you will get there. Now, Paul exhorts us in Philippians 4:11 when he says to seek to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business, and to work with your own hands, as we commanded you. And he continues to say in 2 Thessalonians 3:10-12, in fact, when we were with you, this is what we commanded you. If anyone isn't willing to work, he should do what? He should not eat. If you are not willing to work because of laziness, you should not eat. For we hear that there are some among you who are idle. They are not busy, but busybodies. Now we command and exhort that such people by the Lord Jesus Christ to work quietly and provide for themselves. So a lazy person is often unwilling to work. So if you don't work, what will you eat? That's sweat, isn't it? Because if you have to eat and you're not working, you are eating something that somebody else has sweated for, right? But Paul says, no, we must work with our hands and brains, okay? Now, so put time and energy into your assignments and tasks, because nothing worthwhile comes easy. You sit on a couch watching TV instead of studying, young people, and you can say bye to the straight A's, however gifted you are. Now, I was in the university in the 70s, 77 to 1980, doing electrical engineering. We were about, I think, 37 to 40. Out of the 37 to 40, 3 people got first class honors. I was not one of them. But I did get a second upper. That's the next one. Now, I can tell you this. These 3 chaps, one of them is a PS today, they were very intelligent guys, very, very sharp. But if nothing else that I learned from those people, sharp as they were, they really worked hard. So it wasn't just assumed that because they are sharp, they are clever, they would just take things easy. But they worked very, very hard. And that's how they ended up with their first class honors. They spent a lot of time in their books. So, but you see, laziness, you could be very clever, you could be very gifted, but you don't perform, and people will be wondering, but he's so clever, what happened? It's because you're not giving the time that you need to give to your work. So the last one is make up your mind to be the very best that you can be in life, and don't wait to be pushed to do something that benefits you or other people. Some people have to be pushed to do something, almost everything. How do you like it when you have to push somebody to do something all the time? Is it a nice thing? No, it's not. It's not. So take initiative. Don't always wait to be pushed to do something. So wherever you find yourself, be the best that you can be and make the best out whatever it is. Make it work doing what is in your power to do. And remember, God has given each one of us resources, okay? Not necessarily in equal measure, like the story of the talent. One got how many? 10. Another got 5, another got 2, another got 1. But they were all resources that have been given. So these are the resources that we acquire, those two with God's help. So you must plan and execute before you are rewarded. I doubt that you can harvest anything from your shamba if you never planted in that shamba, isn't it? But you know, sometimes lazy people behave like you can actually harvest before you've planted. But you need to be disciplined, wake up early, and don't be habitually late for work and appointments. And really, I say this, I don't know how I can put it, because in my working life, I've been annoyed. Okay, one is I keep time, and I can't stand people who don't keep time. I mean, really, it's difficult. One time I had somebody who was working in my department, and every day he's late. So I called him to my office. We started talking. He started talking about traffic jam, and I said, that's a lame excuse. You live in a place, I mean, I was living in Langata before the Langata Road became a dual carriageway. And a few other people here may know Langata Road. And it was impossible. So you know that that's the way your road is. So you cannot be leaving at 7 then to get to town at 8. So what do? You wake up early. So you cannot use traffic as an excuse not to be getting to work in good time or appointments or school. So please don't give traffic and those are the lame excuses. Okay, we must conclude because our time is gone. By way of reproof, Proverbs 6:9 , 9 , 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, 9, 6, So the Bible here provokes the lazy one, rebuking him and reasoning with him, calling him to his work as a master does his servant that has overslept. So he says, how long will you sleep, O sluggard? How long will you sleep if one would let you alone? When will you think it's time to arise? Where you are sluggish, God is calling out, how long? How long will you stay in that condition? And I hope that today, as we have heard that actually laziness is a sin and a deadly one, you are getting rebuked by this word, how long? So to those that are slothful in the way of work and duty, in the daily duties of your particular calling as men and of their general calling as Christians, how long will you waste your time? And when will you be a better steward of it? Because a lot of us waste time and we don't use it well. How long will you love your ease? And when will you learn to deny yourself and to take pains so that you deny yourself ease today for a better tomorrow? How long will you bury your talents? And when will you begin to trade with them? Are you becoming like that one who said, I buried it? How long will you delay and put off and trifle away your opportunities and miss the deadlines and have nothing to show for it? When will you stir up yourself to do what you have to do, which, if it be not done, will leave you forever undone? So my last words is constantly ask yourself, what must I do or accomplish today to progress my life or better myself? Because this is what laziness makes us not to do. We don't, it's like just like that. So what is it that you need to do or accomplish today to progress your life and better yourself? Thank you very much, and God bless you. So first you come and pray for us.